right, welcome back to the broadcast. This is Daybreak. In case you're just joining us, you are just in time for that conversation we lined up for you today as we talk about the trouble in the northern part of the country, the escalating banditry attacks that have led to loss of lives and livelihoods, and of course also some people living with physical and emotional wounds courtesy of the attacks in the region. Let me take you through what the Ministry of Interior and National Administration says that in the last 6 months alone, over 100 civilians and 16 police officers have been brutally murdered by the bandits. And these attacks have seen several schools, police vehicles and other social amenities burnt down, something that prompted the government to declare this a national emergency. And now efforts are being put in place to tame the crisis in that part of the region. That crisis is what we want to talk about this morning.
And the House will be debating the deployment of the soldiers today to the areas affected by bandits. Questions on the series of events, whether the approval should proceed. The deployment has always been an issue whenever soldiers are deployed to domestic and foreign missions. For Parliament is a constitution of MPs who represent the Kenyan people, as is the Katiba 2010, or the Constitution, which is people-centered, people-powered. Therefore, the engagement of the lawmakers who sit in the bicameral parliament, the 416 members of the bicameral parliament. Peter Lochakapong is the Sigor member of parliament with us here in studio this morning. Good morning. Pauline Lenguris is the Samburu woman MP. She joins us here on the broadcast. And Brigadier retired Ahmed Mohamed, who is giving us the expert opinion of what the KDF will be doing on ground in the operation that will be led, according to a communique given yesterday by the Inspector General of Police, Japheth Kome. I begin with you, Brigadier. What do you think the latest move would achieve, starting today, Wednesday, that in the previous circumstances, the question on banditry was never resolved?
Thank you very much, Ayub, and good morning. A very good question indeed. What will these efforts now achieve? And I want to say, indeed, also the first challenge for the new government that has come in terms of the North Rift. Much depends on how we are going to handle this effort. In the past, we have seen that we have done much, but it has again returned to the same situation. What I believe we need this time, first, is a serious commitment to address and resolve this problem. In doing that, it must be a continuous engagement. 3 days, 100 days, and that will not help. Must be a plan. First, you need a strategy and a plan. Understand the problem, understand the issues, then come up with what you want to do. Once you do that, it must remain all through a continuous engagement by government and the people. And I always say that it's important, apart from security forces, to engage also the people. They play a very critical role. They're the ones who are affected. And therefore, the process must engage them all through. It should not be a reactive process that we go in now, leave after 3 days. To me, it should be endless and continuous engagement all through.
Okay,
thank you.
Brigadier, just some clarity. When you talk about commitment, from the reading of the present administration, is that commitment present? And because I asked this question against the backdrop of the statement issued by the former Rift Valley Commissioner, now Governor, Trans Nzoia County, George Natambia, who said his phones were never answered by the former Principal Secretary of the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government. And then you said the understanding of the problem. Do we understand it now, and why not in the previous instances where this problem was never resolved?
Thank you, Ayub. Again, it goes back to the issue of commitment. If the government is serious, and that's what is required, this will be resolved. As I said, the idea of popping in now, in a reactive manner, and popping out will not help. Now remember, we're talking about the regional commissioner saying, I'm not getting support. That is the key man on the ground. If anything, the first port of call, in the event of a problem like this one, is to be handled by the regional commissioner. When it's unable and it's goes out of hand, now the government, please come in. But initially, it's his show. Support him, give him resources required, let him engage the security forces and the people, and do what he can. That commitment, Zambia said, has been lacking. We can't go that way.
And I'll pick it from where you've left. Earlier you talked about, let's talk to the people, let's understand the problem. And here I'll rope you in, Mheshimiwa Lenguris. You represent the people on this panel. Let's understand from the people's perspective where the problem is. Why does it seem like banditry suddenly is escalating? And why does it also seem that it is becoming a perennial problem that never seems to go away? From the people's point of view, where is the problem?
Thank you. First, I want to make a correction in the definition of cattle rustling, which has been a common term for all of us every time these days. Cattle rustling is one of the menaces that has been happening in our county almost every day. Cattle rustling, people have been assuming that it's a casual practice, but I want today in the national TV to dispute that cattle rustling is not a traditional practice. It is just an outfit of an organized group, a militia, that has tried to dismantle the lives of people, the livestock of people, the livelihood of people, just for their own benefit. For the case of Samburu, because that's where I represent, for the whole of last year, I think people of Samburu have never been sleeping because of the cattle rustlers who come from all the way from the Pokot to attack Samburu. And you read from the records, because I know the ministry has the reports every day, the intelligence report. There is no single time that an organized group from Samburu has gone to attack people from Pokot. But from Pokot, and my brother is here, and he can testify today, every day, including 2 days ago, people have been coming, they kill people in their homes, they take their livestock, they kill women, they kill children. We have lost so many people. We have lost a lot of livelihood. We have lost all the animals. I am even wondering where they are keeping those animals in Baringo. Between Baringo and Samburu, it's a long distance. The government has tried all other means. We have done peace meetings. They have used a lot of money to do the peace meetings. They have used their security forces. But I believe what my brother has said. Sometimes they go to retaliate or to follow the bandits without organizing themselves.
All right. Thank you, Mheshimiwa.
You remember the value of death. In 1996, when 2012, when the 46 officers were killed. 42 officers were killed, plus the NPRs. Yeah. You know, they are not counted, but there are also some NPRs that were lost during the fight. The officers went down to the valley without knowing the terrain. The militias organized themselves, and they were all killed. I hope this time, because I believe in Kenya Kwanza, that they have organized themselves well, and they know where these militias are, because it will be unfair to go to the people who are staying in their homes to do the operation while the militias are hiding in the valley.
All right, but we'll get more of your views on this, but I appreciate your passion. But as we try to seek a solution to this, that blanket condemnation of a particular community, I don't know whether it's going to give us any solution in this conversation, because we have heard of retaliatory attacks. I may not say that, you know, this community is guilty, this one is innocent. Let's just say, let's find a solution. It
is just from the reports. We can get an intelligence report, and they know who attacks who killed who, and when, and how many.
Right.
If there are cases that are reported, Samburu people going to kill the Pokots, they should tell us because there is intelligence report every day.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's also hear from you, Mheshimiwa. What do you draw from the trend, especially the latest escalating cases? What should we read from this so that it can inform how we respond better as a country?
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to say that the case of cattle rustling and insecurity has a long history in this country. It did not begin yesterday. It began a long time. Personally, I'm a victim of that we were displaced or moved away from our ancestral land by Turkana. And then we went to other places. And we went to a place where people were children were even going to school. I went to school, luckily, because of that. And I want to say that as far back as, I think, 1960s, 1970s, this thing was there. The only thing, the only difference now that is that it is now graduating into something else, that the commercial aspect of cattle rustling and banditry is coming in. Mm. It was not like that in the past. It was something almost cultural, and communities would raid each other and then move back. But these days, it has evolved. So I want to say we must get facts clear. Now, within pastoral communities that are neighbors, this thing has been going on. And sometimes people get into conflict because of the scramble for resources, water, pasture, and something like that. That is what gets people into conflict in many instances. No. In many instances. Like,
you'll have the right of reply.
Yeah, you will have the right of reply. I may not say much. I know certain parts of this country have been marginalized. And one of the reasons why people still engage in this activity is because of that marginalization. Like, for example, Tiati. You were talking about Tiati. Tiati was marginalized for a long time. And government should make a deliberate effort to take development to Tiati deliberately and bring Tiati as close as possible to the rest of this country in terms of opening up roads, putting up schools, and, you know, a place that has been neglected for many years feels that they are not even part of this country. You know, there are people in this country that don't even know some of the things we are talking about, and they are in Kenya. So we need to be alive to the realities of what part of this country is like. Now, I come from West Pokot, particularly Sigor constituency. Now, we border Marakwet East, we border Tiati, Turkana East, Turkana South.
So you border Baringo, Elgeyo Marakwet, and Turkana counties?
Yes. Now, my bordering with Tiati is the Pokot of Tiati. So we have no conflict with them. But lately, we have had conflict with the Marakwet, from Marakwet East. But for a long time, we've not had that conflict. So what has motivated that? Sometimes a difference between individual members of communities graduate into a community difference, a community problem.
Okay. Now, just hang on. When you mentioned, because you have highlighted two very important issues, commercialization bit of it, which you said is intensifying the problem, and the issue of marginalization. You are a lawmaker who has a kitty for education, security, and development. I wonder when you talk about marginalization in Tiati, which is in Baringo County.
Yes.
Baringo produced the longest-serving president in the history of the Republic of Kenya,
yes.
Arap Moi. There is an MP who has a CDF kitty for security, development, and education. You are an MP. In the case of, why do you think then there has been a lacking commitment? And in your case, in the foreseeable future, to not talk about marginalization, what would you do with that kitty for development, education, and security to forestall such a debate in the foreseeable future?
Thank you very much. I want to say that we have a CDF kitty, each member of parliament has. And for the time that CDF has been there, the members of parliament have tried to put infrastructure, infrastructure in terms of schools. Because currently now, you know, CDF can only do schools and put maybe some security installations in those places. Now, the CDF kitty is a small kitty. We need a deliberate effort by government to open up that place. Much of that place is not accessible by road, right? And we don't have schools, we don't have water. So I want to suggest, if government is serious, particularly for Tiati, because even when we had the former president, the second president of this republic, it is one reason why that place got marginalized. You know, Atamak Road was just done and to the border of Tiati and the rest of the other Baringo part. And it was left like that. So that place was left. So somebody needs to come out and do a deliberate effort to ensure that that place is opened up. I was even going to suggest, if Brigadier is serious here and can give advice, we can deploy KDF, the NYS, to go and do development to open up that place. You know, when people see government presence in areas, they also know we have a government. But when they don't see them, they are just on their own.
Thank you.
And I'll just take you on that, because you've talked about the need for development to open up these regions, because the marginalization seems to be what could be exacerbating the banditry attacks in the region. For example, a community such as the Pokot, there was that call for development the government has done quite a lot to improve even the road network in that region. Has that helped in any way? The other day also, there was a conversation about this, and the Member of Parliament for Baringo North also spoke about in the area, they've set up water tanks, just trying to provide the basic necessities in the region, but the bandits would shoot those same water tanks, you know. So would you say that the problem is lack of development, or it's the people and their ability to embrace the development that comes their way? Let's get something clear here.
I want to say that, in my opinion, it is the lack of that is causing this problem. And I want to challenge anybody, even government, that if they can make a deliberate effort to open up Tiati, we will solve this problem of cattle rustling in the north by a big percentage. Because, truth be told, much of Tiati area is inaccessible by road. Even when we deploy KDF, the police, and everybody else, they will only go to places where they can access through road or by road. There are places they will not get to. And they will probably use aerial or the choppers or those ones, but they will not access by road. Right. They will not. And Tiati is a big percentage of the Baringo County. When you talk of the MP for Baringo North was here, the MP for Baringo South, those are areas that enjoyed development during the reign of the second president of this country. Yes.
Brigadier, I know you have a lot to say on this, but in terms of security response, considering what the leaders here are sharing with us, there seems to be underlying problems, not necessarily the security problem that we are currently. This seems to be like, should I call it the symptom or something? I mean, there is something beneath that is the real problem from what I gather from the leaders here. How should the security response then be contextualized so that it meets the need, the exact need on the ground?
Thank you, Safin. You put it very well, and I like the way the two honorables have put it also, in the sense that this is not a problem of ideal security. Security is actually an after result of the whole thing. We need to go back and conduct a proper strategy. In doing this, understand what are the root causes of this problem. And they've put it very well. From the outset, development. Lack of development. They feel they've been left out. The area is remote, very remote. So they're fighting for scarce resources. They're fighting for pasture. They're fighting for boundaries that are there. And because of that, you see this, they're fighting for maybe lack of the basics, schools and all that. Imagine, 60 years in independence, and we are fighting among communities. It should not be allowed to happen. So my point is, security has come in. Let us pacify the area right now. Pacify it, and then go back. Find out the root causes, understand the issues affecting the people, and then develop the area. Once you do that, you'll overcome this. Again, I will say, the idea of a reactive process is not the answer. It must be a proactive process, well planned. In fact, the right term to use is a campaign for the entire area, to include North Rift and parts of Northeastern. All that requires to feel they're part of government, so that when these things happen, they actually work with government, not against government. And then also education. We are all one country. We are all one people. Why fight among ourselves? Very key. So to me, we need a proper campaign strategy that will be planned over not 1 month, 2 months, over maybe 5 years. Ensure there is developed. Ensure there is roads, there is water, there is control of pastures. Talk to the people, engage them. Let them support you, and you support them. But then you're doing now reactively. This short term, I'm sorry, it's not the answer.
Okay, we will talk about that by extension. Yes, Honda, but you had a point.
Yeah.
Go ahead, please.
It is true that parts of Kenya, northern Kenya, has been marginalized for many years. But personally, I believe that that is not a reason for cattle rustling. Because right now, we are experiencing a drought that has never been experienced in that region. You go to Samburu now, you don't see anything like grass. There is no water. But we get these attacks every day. So where is the grass that we are fighting over? There is no grass. There is no water. What has become evident now is that these guys are fighting us because they want to take our land by force. 30% of the land from Samburu is occupied by people from Baringo. And those are the same guys who are killing people, the landowners. They are trying to displace them every day so that they move away from their land, and they are sitting on that land. So one of the main reasons that these guys are fighting us and killing people is because they want to take this land by force. So that's one of the things that the government should be serious about, because if you don't address that issue, it is between us and Baringo. It is between the Tepokots and Turkanas. People are fighting over the boundaries. And it's evident. We have a lot of land that is unused right now, and that is where the bandits are hiding. Today you want to go there to put roads, they will kill you because they don't want that area to be opened. It is a reality, and I don't hide it. They don't want schools. We had schools in that region, but they closed all the schools, they displaced everyone, they destroyed all the classes, all the water tanks. So those guys do not want any kind of development. So I don't know how the government is going to handle them. Okay. Because they are living in their own world there, in their own rules. They don't want to follow any government rules.
Okay, thank you. The government nonetheless, bears the responsibility of development, education, security, because that is the primary reason as to why the present, for example, government that is in power was given the mandate, and thereof the driving of all the factors as we have talked about. And Brigadier, I'll question you on the topography and the geography of the land. What needs to be done? Because previously there was also a deployment of the Kenya Defence Forces in 2013, and going forward, how solutions will be tailored for the problem in the north. We are going on a break. Okay. Come back and continue. You'll have the right of reply.
Better, right. So the conversation continues. As you can see, there's a lot to be said. What do you have to say about how best the country can approach the trouble in the north? The escalating cases of banditry attacks. Do engage us on social media at Citizen TV Kenya, at Safina_Acheng, at Ayub Abdi Kadir. When we come back from the break, we'll be sampling some of your views. Do stay with us. This is Daybreak.